This episode of Jump Off Point is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the Boss Rush family of podcasts, head to bossrush.net or our Patreon at patreon.com/bossrushmedia. Thanks for helping us build something better.
Hello, everybody. We are back in the building. This is Jump Off Point. I'm your host, the Enlightened Excited Eddie B. Unfortunately, everybody, the Wise West Past tonight couldn't join us this episode, but I got the Wise Wrestle Night here in the building, Mr. Josh Martinez. Come on, good sir. Hello.
Hello. It's been a while, Ed.
It has. It really has. And everybody, we have such an amazing special guest. If you love indie, if you love single player games, if you just love a smooth voice, everybody, please welcome the one, the only, the coolest of the cool. And I miss this dude because I haven't talked to him in a while. Everybody, please welcome Sebastion Mauldin. Hello, good sir.
Hello, man. You're giving an entrance like I normally give you, like whenever you appear on my podcast. You taking like my inspiration of pro wrestling and kind of adopted it into your own intros right there. I like that. I like that. But before we begin, I must say, finally, the great one, the Prince of Podcasts, has come back to the Boss Rush Network and their network of podcasts. I have returned to grace y'all, to let y'all bask in my presence. How are y'all doing, man? It's great to be here.
We're doing really good. We had
I
to
love
take,
that entrance. Ed introduced me a little bit in this way, but I'm so happy there's another wrestling fan here. I mean, Ed likes wrestling, but not. I'm 31 years old, still watching stuff going on right now.
So Ed, what like he's talking about you're a wrestling fan. What type of wrestling fan are you? Like an old school like laps wrestling fan, or are you still watching some of the new stuff today?
A mix. I've been watching WWE a lot with Roman Reigns and everything. I've also been watching. I've been going through the Rock's old every pay-per-view match he's done. So I am just at the end of 2000. What was it? Vengeance, the 6-man Hell in a Cell, where Rikishi gets thrown off the top of the cell into that trick. Armageddon. My bad. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And oh my gosh, that one was so much fun. That's a fun one.
I would say the best Hell in the Cell match of all time. Like it had, because of the stories that layered into it, where like that's to me when WWE was at its best, with like the way they told stories, because like they had such nuances between like Rikishi coming in with his storyline between The Rock and Stone Cold, and then like the fact that him and Triple H weren't on the same page at that time. But all of them had that core angle of wanting to take Kurt Angle's championship belt. Then you also had the mixture of like Kurt Angle like cheating his way to still being champion with the Undertaker around that time, with The Rock around that time, with Austin mixing in with all that. It's the level of storytelling and how they mixed in those 6 storylines was masterful.
Well, and we get the benefit of knowing what's coming because you're seeing the build to WrestleMania 17 with The Rock and Stone Cold, and you see it as early as Survivor Series with The Rock and Rikishi. What was it, Rebellion, where The Rock and Stone Cold have like 10 minutes after the match. They're just kind of hanging out in the ring. Like you see it all building because you know where it's going. At the time, nobody had no idea where that was going at the time. But here we are 20 years later. We know where it goes, and it's I've got a good mix of what I watch. I haven't watched AEW in a while, but I do like watching over there. But yeah, I'm a good mix of the old stuff. I grew up, let's see, Ruthless Aggression was probably some of the stuff I remember because my parents weren't letting me watch the crotch chops and the middle fingers when I was 8 years old when the Attitude Era was at its height. But I mean, I didn't even have to watch to know who The Rock and Stone Cold were. Everybody knew who that was at the
No,
time.
no, they were universal. They were like transcendent, like superstars for sure.
Hmm.
And then like
Hmm.
on the AEW thing, I mean, this weekend's a good time to get back into it. It's Double or Nothing, the one of the hottest pay per views in the year coming up. So that's fun. But yeah, like you were saying, like a prime time for Attitude Era, and then like the Ruthless Aggression Era was really a really good time to be a wrestling fan. Sorry, Ed.
Not,
I know we've been just talking on and on here.
Oh no, 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 no! That when we get to it, you guys will find out. I love the rest of the talk. I do enjoy it. Well, right, we're gonna get into our first section. Is what's jumping? So, Sebastian, what have you been playing? What's been jumping in your play time? You know, just give us one game.
Ooh,
That's kind
one
of been
game.
jumping. Yeah.
One game. Oof. I've been playing a lot of different games, but I'll just give you one game. I've been playing World Championship Boxing Manager 2. And one of the reasons why I've been playing this, not only am I a wrestling fan, I'm also, like a mixed martial art fan or a boxing fan, but like this allows you to kind of take on the role as a boxing manager and kind of manage either one solid boxer from like a rookie all the way to the championship level, and you can kind of pick and choose like the way you kind of train this person, like you're also his promoter, so you also can pick up the fights and different for him or her and such like that, and you kind of manage that all the aspects of like what you think that particular fighter needs to get to the next level. And then it has a really solid like career mode as well, so I've been playing a lot of that, and one of the reasons I've been playing that is to whet my palate per se, because coming this game is by Mega Cat Studios, and since Josh and I were talking about pro wrestling, Mega Cat Studios is like coming out with a upcoming title called WrestleQuest.
oh, I'm
And
so excited.
for
Yeah.
WrestleQuest, they're the same studio that's making that game, and I decided I was just like, I want to see what they can do. Give me a little taste, so to speak, a little preview, so to speak, a little like appetizers before my entree of WrestleQuest this summer. So been playing a little bit of that, liking it, definitely recommend it.
Nice. Well, Josh, what has been jumping? What's been jumping in your game time? What one game have you been playing?
So before we jumped on, you guys were talking about Spider-Man from the first one. I beat that one because of it leaving PlayStation Plus. So I wanted to hurry through that before I got on to Tears of the Kingdom, and boy, was that fun! Oh my goodness, it's so much fun. So, kind of, Ed knows this about me, but Sebastian, I'm new to PlayStation. I've never owned a Sony console until I got a PS5 earlier this year. I've always been a Nintendo guy, just throughout my life. Just money never made it so I could get more, but in a position I could get it. So I got the PS Plus to kind of catch up on previous PlayStation games from PS4 as well as this generation. And so Spider-Man was on that list. And I had so much fun. I beat the DLC recently. I beat the main storyline of it. I would have liked to go back because I do like to collect things, but I wasn't.
Mhm.
I ran out of time. But I'm happy with what I did play, and it got me so much more excited. And then we have the showcase today that got me even more excited for the sequel. Miles Morales is still on PS Plus, so that's on my list to come play.
Definitely check it out, because like it's 6 to 8 hours, so it's very much a smaller
Mhm.
condensed experience than Spider-Man 2018. But like I will definitely say like the collectibles are still there, and it's a really easy and obtainable platinum to really get as well if you're a platinum kind of guy. But like Spider-Man 2018 is one I definitely recommend you going back to, especially if I don't know if the PS Plus version has like the Game of the Year edition where you're able to play through like the DLCs, where you're able to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So it did, and I beat the main quest probably about 4 or 5 days before it came off of PS Plus, and I was able to get the DLC. So I went through the whole thing. Actually, by a fortunate mistake, my PlayStation didn't connect to the internet, and I was able to play the last DLC after it had technically been removed. But my
Ah,
PlayStation didn't know that because it didn't connect to the internet.
mhm.
So I squeezed out the last DLC, and then it connected to the internet and kicked me out. But I was like, just that was the Silver Sable one. That was a lot of fun. So no,
Really
I
enjoyed that one.
I loved my time with it. I great story. The only thing that I don't know if it was a bad thing, but it was definitely there were so many different villains, and it almost switched up villains halfway through where Mister Negative was the bad guy, and then the Sinister Six were it in the third act. Again, not a bad thing, but it was just there's a lot
It,
going on in terms of the villain.
it's the Arkham kind of thing. How there are all these different bad guys that like Batman has to fight and stuff. So in Spider Man, they kind of do it almost like that too.
I
And
will say
Yeah,
though, like Arkham to me had a better pace of like the way it introduces a villain and such like that, and the way it segmented each and every villain. They all had a purpose that structured the narrative. Whereas like
mhm.
the Sinister Six in Spider-Man 2018 almost felt like they were shooed in just to have the Sinister Six there. Like a lot of those characters didn't necessarily need to be there for the furtherment of that story. Whereas you see like Batman in the Arkham games, like when he faces Clayface, like Clayface has a purpose in that universe. Like when he faces like Sub-Zero and Penguin and such like that, like they have purpose in the narrative structure of each and every story to that kind of like, okay, there are reasons why these characters are here versus like the Sinister Six was just like there should be no reason why we had to go through that bank boss fight where we're fighting was Shocker. Like that's
mm-hmm.
that was an egregious boss fight, first of all, but like a narratively speaking, we didn't need that like at all.
Well, and I thought they had a good balance because I mean, Kingpin played a role in how it
Mhm.
opened up for um, Marty Space, Mister Negative's crew, and I mean, you spent 2 acts thinking Mister Negative was going to be the main bad guy, only in the third act when the Sinister Six come in to almost have him relegated just to a member of that, and Doc Ock become the main bad guy. So it was like you said, the pacing was a little off in that. Despite that, though, I mean, I had a blast with it. I mean, I read the comics and I haven't read much of Mister Negative, so this was my real first introduction to him, and it's just a lot of fun. I plan on going to read some Spider-Man comics now, thanks to this game.
I bet. Like one that I'd recommend in the lead up to Spider-Man 2 is Craven's Last Hunt. That one
Oh, I've
is
read that one. That's a good
yeah.
one.
Yeah, it sort of feels like they're adapting aspects of that story for Spider-Man 2.
Right, right. Yeah, so I've had Marvel Unlimited for several years now. So I've gone in and out of different Spider-Man arcs. But yeah, last Craven's Last Hunt, that was one that is kind of weird because in a good way because he's such a goofy bad guy and it kind of had a
Mhm.
dark ending there that just was like I'm like, wow, I didn't see that coming, which makes the story exciting.
It really does. It really
Hmm.
does. So
Sorry,
Ed, what
Ed.
have you been playing lately?
Well,
What have you
before I
been
get to
jumping
what I've
jumping
been,
with?
before I get into that, Josh Martinez, if they put Resistance 1, 2, and 3 on it, you are by duty to play those 3 games. They're still
Wait,
by Insomniac. Resistance
wait, Resistance. Would I like
So
those
one, two,
games,
and
Ed?
three.
So let me ask you, like, Josh, before you dive into Resistance, give me your like top 5 PlayStation backlogs that you're like. What's on the list of games you're going to play on the PS5?
So I already started this, but because of the Tears of the Kingdom coming out as well as Spider-Man leaving, I started playing Horizon Forbidden West.
Really
I'm
good.
about halfway through that one. Um, where I'm at the part where you get up to the. It's been a couple months now, but you're up to this like big pit, and you're. It's been a while, man. It's. I'm in the middle of the desert. I know that much. So let's see. That's on there. The Last of Us Part One is on there.
Oh, masterpiece!
Uh,
One of the best games, if
mm,
not the best game of all time, in my opinion.
mm,
Yeah, and
mm.
PS Plus has the remastered version of
Okay,
it.
really good.
So that's there. Ghost of Tsushima's on that
Oh,
list.
so good,
Yeah,
man.
that's a good
Um,
one.
let's see, Final Fantasy VII, the remake.
Hmm.
I just beat the original Final Fantasy VII last year. Was it last? Yeah, it was last year. So I'm excited to get into this one, especially before Rebirth comes out. And then another one I've sat on for a while is Tales of Arise. I know that's not necessarily a PlayStation exclusive, but it's
Mhm.
one that I really like RPGs,
Same.
JRPGs in particular. Those are And I heard you mentioning it. Stories are where I really like my games to have. So Final Fantasy is really, I'm new to that because I was too young to have the original 6 on a Nintendo console, and then they went to Sony after 7. So I've been just kind of ticking away at those right now. But yeah, those are mine. I've got a bunch on there. I do like kind of Mario 3D games. So Ratchet and Clank, I know that's not completely Mario, but it's like a 3D platformer type game.
It's good. It's good.
That's on there.
2016 and the Rift Apart is like really good. You can almost start with those two and get the full breadth of the actual story. Jack and Dexter, like Ed was saying, is really good as well.
Is bad. Yeah, Jack and Dexter.
Sly Cooper.
It's Crash, Jack and Dexter, Sly Cooper, and did I say Spyro?
Spyro's I don't know if Spyro's on the collection or not, but like Spyro's a good one as well.
I have that on my Switch.
It was those the 4 platforming games from PlayStation. Yeah.
Okay.
Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter, Crash, and Spyro. Those the 4. Okay. Those 4 were originally owned by Sony, but Crash and Spyro Sony don't own no more.
Yeah, because I have Spyro the Reignited trilogy. Those remakes of the original 3 games that are on there. So yeah, I mean, I could go. I've got a long list of games on there that I've been wanting to play. Just, I mean, like I said, I missed a ton. Never having a PlayStation before, so having that. What was one more? Uncharted. I've never played an Uncharted game. So
question. You said much. You jumped into Horizon Forbidden West. Did you not play Horizon Zero Dawn?
Oh, sorry. It was Zero Dawn. That's the one I'm playing right now. I don't know why I just jumped to Forbidden West. No, I'm Zero Dawn. That's what I'm playing right now. Okay. Or have been playing.
Another good platformer is Astrobot. I don't know if you've ever touched an Astrobot game, but like it comes with a PS5 as well.
Oh, I just beat that. I just beat the Playroom game.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's some good ones on there. I know we kind of like got sidetracked because like Ed talked about resistance, and the reason why I asked is because like you're in such a unique situation to where you can experience almost like the PS4, PS5 generation, which I would argue is like one of the best generations in all of gaming. Is like you can experience that for the first time. It's something special, man. Like I'm so jealous because like I almost wish I could like take your memory of all these and get to experience them for the first time all over again. Infamous is a really good one to check out too, by the way.
Infamous
to check out.
Yeah.
Here's the fun thing too. Oh, sorry, Ed. Go ahead.
Oh no, I said Infamous and Infamous 2 are
okay.
The checks.
You don't like the Infamous First Light or like Infamous Second Son? The third game?
I just need to finish it. It got like a little bit repetitive and a bit boring.
I got you.
Because it was just like, beautiful game. Love them. But I was just like, man, this really, really feels redundant. Like, and I mean, too redundant. So I'm just like, the story wasn't picking up or anything. So that's kind of what I had the problem with it. Beautiful game, kind of fun to play. But I'm just like, if you really want to understand where the love of Infamous came from, 1 and 2 would do it. You need 1 for the story to understand why 2 is better in all the right reasons.
Okay.
Yeah. 1 and 2 go together. Infamous, you can play Infamous Second Son and First Light without having to play the first 2 and get the story for both of those really well.
And also, Sebastian, to your point of me going through all this for the first time, I did not have the original Final Fantasy VII spoiled for me. So that scene. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just because having Nintendo, I didn't pay attention to whatever was going on PlayStation or PlayStation 2 at the time. So I didn't know that scene with Aerith. Man, that hit me so hard because I'm like, I had no idea it was coming. And this is 2021. The game came out in 97, and I'm here at 2022, 21, having no idea what's happening, and it just hits me, and I had to put the game down for a minute. I'm like, what just happened? And then after all that happens, and and her songs playing while you're doing the boss fight. I'm just like,
Mhm.
what kind of masterpiece is this, man? This was just, it was a whole, I think it's one of the first times I've
It's
been like, a game made me feel like an emotion outside of just like enjoyment or fun. Like I
and,
just
Oh
was like,
wow.
this and this is why I was kind of like not mad or upset, but kind of just like disappointed in people recognizing narrative and stories. And acting like God of War, the 2018 one was the first one. It was just like, we had this way back when, but you guys are acting brand new. Like when we had narrative in Final Fantasy VII, like that, it was the game that helped people get somewhat into JRPGs. But once again, when shooters and stuff came, that all got ignored. But because God of War was a big game for PlayStation, the 2018 one, and people loved it, God of War 4, I should say, and people loved it and gave it all this praise and talking about narrative in games, it kind of felt demeaning in a sense that this thing has been here and it took you guys this long to figure it out.
I will say, like, just to give a little pushback and a little more praise to God of War, is like God of War and the narrative there, that the level of acting, the level of cinematography, the level of like music and score combining with like everything that goes on to that game, I can't think of a game that outdoes it at this point. Like I can look at the library of games I've played over the years, outside of like The Last of Us and maybe Uncharted. Like I can't think of another game that comes close to the pageantry and the level of acting that we've seen in that game. Like that's one of the rare games in the medium of video games that we got to see a game, like see a story and a narrative presented in a Hollywood blockbuster way. Like
Mhm.
you could go to a theater and see that played out there, and you're going to get emotions like that's almost Oscar worthy performance. Whereas like a lot of games that we've seen in, and not to throw shade on Final Fantasy VII, that's like a heart wrenching moment. That is a legit moment, but it's the moment. It's not necessarily like the acting leading up to that moment that led
Mhm.
to like everything being good. Because like and for the Final Fantasy VII, for the most part, especially like him playing the original, it's almost that Link kind of thing where you're projecting like your Cloud, so to speak. Cloud doesn't really have like a huge personality, but like
Right.
Kratos has a personality. You're seeing that on full display. You're seeing the way he reacts to living and breathing situations around him, and like he's a nuanced character, especially in 2018, to where like that character's evolved so much from what we where we knew him in the Greek mythology stage. So having all that coming into play, like I don't know if you can put it like this, like you could take Final Fantasy VII right now and make that into a almost Last of Us style HBO show, and I don't know if it succeeds. If you told me that the same team who did The Last of Us and Game of Thrones were also doing a God of War 2018 like story on television, like everyone's gonna have faith in that project. I think that's
And,
where the
and
disparity lies, though.
and I think that's why, and I know we'll move on, but I think that's why when Xenoblade Chronicles 3 comes up and it talks about narrative and voice acting and feeling emotions and all of this, Xenoblade 3 should have did the same numbers God of War did and probably then some. Because even though people just like, oh, it's a role playing game, I'm like, the same long time that you would have got in God of War is the same time you would have got in Xenoblade, and then more. You
I'm gonna be
know,
real with you. I think that's more of a fault of Nintendo. I don't think they put it like this. Like
mhm,
they didn't treat Xenoblade like they treated Tears of the Kingdom. Like the marketing wasn't there for that. Like if
mhm.
you look up to the build up for Xenoblade versus like the build up for Tears of the Kingdom and a Mario game like Mario Odyssey, they get the full treatment. Like they get the red carpet. Like they fully like you have a whole direct dedicated to that sort of thing.
and and part of the problem with that is that Nintendo did do some marketing for Xenoblade 3,
Mhm.
but it's such it it did the numbers that it was supposed to do, like 3 million and everything. You know, this is a JRPG, and sometimes JRPGs don't do huge numbers. Definitely when it's on one platform and everything. Most of the Monolith Soft team, when they got finished with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, they had to go back and do Tears of the Kingdom. Like
Yeah.
they literally had to run and go do that. And I think Nintendo was doing their best to promote it. It was just at a time that so many games and stuff were coming out, and they knew that Xenoblade Chronicles has become a big staple to it. Now that they've seen the sales of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, now they see how people talk about it. Because Xenoblade is getting the Tears of the Kingdom treatment, talkative wise, where everybody would just like, do not spoil anything about that game. And now people who decides to get Xenoblade Chronicles 3, their mouths are dropped. They're hearing the music, they're seeing these emotional beats, and they're going through these chapters, and they're just like, I literally cannot say anything, because if I say something and you don't experience what this game is offering, you would not understand. Because people were like that with God of War 2018. They were just like, I don't want to say nothing until you play this game and experience it. So
Yeah.
when that talk about narrative came out and everything, I'm like, these are the games that you should go look for that have a narrative. But once again, people just, it's something that didn't come on the Sony platform, and it wasn't made by the Sony developer, so we're just going to literally ignore it.
Hold
And that's
on,
how
hold
some
on.
people's
Like,
attitude were.
yeah, there's always that toxicity no matter what platform you go on. Like, we
Hmm.
just had a PlayStation showcase, and and for a lot of people, like a lot of people across the industry, and a lot of people's reactions, you can look on Twitter now, like a lot of people didn't necessarily find it to be like satisfactory, and like Xbox gamers, so to speak, are like celebrating right now because like, I can see a lot of them because they don't think they think this is a victory for the like Xbox and a detriment to what PlayStation should have shown. And I get that. Like, there's a lot of toxicity no matter what,
Hmm.
like which of the three of the triangle you actually look at. But like, and it's unfair. Like, a lot of games get shafted because of that. I will say though, like, you can almost tell, like, Xenoblade and Metroid, like, they're on the same tier where like Nintendo treats them almost like cult followings, like cult classics. Whereas like
Hmm.
Nintendo didn't talk about Metroid for almost a decade, didn't do anything with that IP. Xenoblade is kind of in that same ball camp, but when you look at like Mario game, when a Mario game comes out, like, it's gonna get it's gonna get like the red carpet treatment. Like, when like
Right.
Zelda game comes out, it's gonna get the red treatment. Hell, like at this point, like Donkey Kong is treated with more reverence by Nintendo than Xenoblade. You get what I mean? And Donkey Kong's not even like one of the
And
pillars of Nintendo anymore.
and and I think that's why when it comes to Microsoft and Sony, a lot of their games wish they did get some treatment like that. Look at PSVR 2. That thing dropped. It was supposed to be there was supposed to be a big lead up in games rolling out. Sony has did nothing with that. Microsoft with Halo Infinite, that was supposed to be a big rollout, big game. Nothing with it. Trust me, if PSVR 2 and Halo Infinite just got a little praise and a little talk in marketing like Metro Prime Remaster did, those sale numbers would be bigger. Those conversations about those items would be bigger. So I think when Nintendo does get some marketing, because a lot of people just like, I need to see a commercial. Sometimes Nintendo does some cool stuff. Yoshi's Crafted World and everything, or Yoshi's Woody World. They were doing little things. Be like, oh, it's Easter. How about you check out this little thing, and then have a little Yoshi with an egg and stuff. Like, they will figure out ways to market that thing, that they can. I mean, they try their best, and once it's over, I mean, once the game release, regardless of what sales numbers it does, sometimes it just be like, hey, you know, we might not push it at this time, but we're gonna come and take a montage of stuff and then put it out. Cause like even Splatoon, when Splatoon came out, even Nintendo wasn't promoting it that well. But now you see commercials with Splatoon in it. You see something with Metroid, Mario Kart, and some of the other games, kid friendly games, I should say. And that's how Nintendo rolls with their marketing. Nintendo tries to market like 18 games throughout a year, and it's ridiculous
Yeah.
sometimes.
It's just like you see a disparity between the way they market like Tears of the Kingdom, which really got some really good marketing from Nintendo, and then like Arms. Arms is also a first party Nintendo, but
Yes.
like there's a discrepancy there. Josh, what do you think about all this though? We've been talking for way too long at this point.
I think I agree. And being a lifelong Nintendo fan, those do get the biggest rub out there, and they have for a year. I mean, Mario, that's Nintendo's Mickey Mouse. Like that's
Mhm.
their
Hmm.
mascot pretty much, and Zelda's probably your number two in there. And I mean, you go down the way there, and like you said, Arms. I mean, even with Pikmin 4 getting ready to come out, I don't feel like we got that thing in the direct a couple months ago, and that's it. Isn't it supposed to come out this summer sometime? We
Yeah, I
haven't
think
we
in
haven't
this
seen
month,
much of
right?
In July. In
Yeah,
July. So
July.
yeah,
July. Mhm.
and I mean, to Xenoblade's credit too, we got a little bit more, but they even cut their marketing time on that because that game was originally set to come out in the fall, and they switched it with, was it Bayonetta 3? They switched
Oh, they
places with
switched
it.
it with Splatoon.
Was this okay? It was Splatoon. They switched it
Yeah.
with
So
because
yeah,
and they
yeah,
released
because
Xenoblade 3 in July, and I think they're the people who love that game really love that game. I don't
For
think that
sure.
your base isn't the issue on that game. I think it's getting new gamers in there, and that's a tough thing. JRPGs can be just sometimes tough, just with if you're not used to the gameplay, it's different. But yeah, I mean, Sebastian, I don't know if I picked up on it until you were kind of laying it out there, and I'm like, no, he's right. Like you see the red carpet rolled out for these big titles, the big two, really,
For
and
sure.
and I think Donkey Kong gets that rub mainly because by technicality, it's a technicality, but Mario's a spin-off of Donkey
Ex-
Kong.
exactly.
So it's within the Mario kind of universe of
actually
things.
that depends on the way that you look at it.
If you want to be a Patreon producer, head on over to Patreon, patreon.com/BossRushMedia, and find out which tier is right for you. Our Patreon producers at the $5 tier or higher for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, and Rebecca Jewell. Thank you for your continued support.
Because Mario Brothers was out on the Atari before Donkey Kong came out.
Yeah, it kind of depends on your perspective, but like I think,
But they largely accept Donkey Kong in the same universe as Mario.
But
Like
yeah,
whenever,
because
they put them in the movie, man. They put them in the movie.
yeah, because Donkey Kong had Mario in his video game as an arcade, but Mario Brothers did start as an arcade also, and it wasn't the Super Mario Brother platform that everybody think it was. It was a one kind of like level, and it kind of changes. And when it came out. For consoles, it came out on Atari before Nintendo even published anything for
yeah, it was like when
their
those
own console.
spiky things would come out. You're jumping up underneath them, trying to flip them. I don't even know how to play that game. I just know what you do in it. But I
Hmm.
don't know. I don't know how to win that game. I have a couple games like that, and that originals, like the original Super Mario Brothers. That's the one. I just don't. I don't know what I'm doing. I just know. Oh, hit the platform underneath this. It flips them over. Cool. That's how do I know what I'm doing.
I mean, Pigment's a good example, though. I mean, like Ed, if like the three of us did an exercise on like how important, not necessarily that we see Nintendo franchises, but like the
Hmm.
way we feel like Nintendo sees their franchises right now, like like we would have Mario and Zelda at the top tier. They would be A. They would be A tier, and then like everything trickles downwards from there, and then somewhere
Actually,
deep down around like I don't know if we can go all the way to Z is Earthbound. It's like like where like the level of importance
so
for
Earth,
that.
so Earthbound is a very weird one. The history of Earthbound, and I think people
Mhm.
need to go research it.
Yeah,
Nintendo
for sure.
really, the way that thing is with Earthbound, there's a lot of legal ease going on with that game. So that's why it's not the way that it's not the way that it is, because we never got Earthbound Beginnings until the Wii U version. And
Is
in
F Zero
Earthbound
the same
Beginnings,
way?
F Zero we got on Super Nintendo, so we
Yeah,
did get it at the
is that
same time.
a is that an IP that we that's like trapped in a legal battle? Is that why they don't do anything with that?
No, there. So F Zero, F Zero did have games, and it had
Hmm.
an arcade port because Namco did it.
Okay.
They're just at this point in time, Mario Kart 8 is doing such big numbers. There's no need for F Zero game just for right now. And some of those racing games that like Fast RMX and everything, even though those are good, there's not a big fan base for F Zero. But like Nintendo said, that doesn't rule it out that they wouldn't do it. It's just that right now Mario Kart is such a big IP that's doing them numbers. Even if they put out uh F Zero, it wouldn't do the same numbers. It'll probably surpass 1 million or 2 million, but it has to be in a place where they know that gamers are gonna go out and get it and
Yeah,
everything.
I get
Nintendo,
the concept
you
behind it.
know,
I was just wondering, like we were talking about like how like the IPs that Nintendo obviously cherishes, and like
mhm.
the way you described F Zero now is like they like that IP, but they're not gonna marry
Yeah.
that IP. It's almost like you're dating someone, and like you're like, okay, I'll give this like another first date. Like that person can go on my contact list, but I'm not hitting them up. I'm not calling them and saying
And,
let's go out. You know?
and Nintendo doesn't want to put that IP out just to satisfy fans, because then that seems more of a money crash grab kind of thing, and that just feels like, oh, you just put this out for the fans. Even though you got us excited, even though you did the announcement stuff, you put it out, and regardless of reviews or stuff, some people might be like, it's not what I expected, it's not what I wanted. I'm like, but if you just been, I don't want to say crying for F Zero, but if you've been anticipating for an F Zero game and it didn't deliver, um, you know that Nintendo, and it's not that Nintendo didn't put their all in it or anything. Nintendo just don't want to put stuff out just to be putting stuff out. They feel that the quality is right, or they feel like the time is right, they'll go in and work with it. Some of the new people who are coming into Nintendo right now, making the games and being directors, that I need to straight learn this stuff. Some of them could probably go into Nintendo and be like, I want to pitch a new F Zero game. I want to give some ideas. Here's a design. Here's this and that. And Nintendo might say, okay, cool, but they might bounce off ideas and stuff and everything. And if Miyamoto and all of the older folks who are looking over these games and producing these games, if they're asking questions and they can't give them an answer, they're not going to be like, okay, we're not. They're going to be like, we're not going to do your game just yet until you figure this out. Because the thing about it is, we want to make sure that when it comes out, your game feels like you and it's original and it's polished and stuff. We don't want it to feel like, oh, it feels like this game, this game, this game, this game, this game. You can be inspired and take those things, but we want to still make sure that not only does it feel like you, but it feels like a Nintendo game and nothing else.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
sorry I got us off course here, but
No,
like I think this is an intriguing like Nintendo powwow question is like the state of like dormant Nintendo franchises. And I think that's I think a whole episode could be done on that one. And if I'm also throwing out a Nintendo powwow like topic of like episode, I think another one could be also done on like franchises that we would like to see returned and what they would look like in 2023. Like two things that I think would be really interesting like conversations to have.
me and Corey talked about, and then I'll talk about what's been jumping in mind. Me and Corey talked about Nintendo. Me and Corey talked actually just like if Nintendo worked with Remedy to make Eternal Darkness, that needs to happen. I literally feel like Nintendo and Remedy uh could take Eternal Darkness, do a remake, and it would literally work. It because Remedy works well in the supernatural. Now their gameplay sometimes is very questionable, but I think with Nintendo directing Remedy, like helping them out and polishing some stuff, I think Eternal Darkness from them would literally work. That would get people
I'm
literally
almost
talking. That would people literally talking.
and I'm not trying to be facetious here. Like, I also like, I don't think either company needs each other at this point. Like, if I'm looking at
Oh no,
if Remedy, like, because Remedy is killing it with Alan Wake and Control right now, like two games that are almost at the prime of prime examples of like in both of their mediums, especially in the supernatural
mm,
genre. And then like, I don't know if Nintendo has any interest in doing anything like that, especially considering what they think is the actual like a supernatural game in their portfolio is probably what Luigi's Mansion. And that's like the closest thing they actually want to get to doing a native like first party Nintendo supernatural like suspenseful
well
almost horror game there.
they own stake in what's the Koei Tecmo one with the camera?
Fatal
Um,
Frame.
Fatal Frame,
Fatal
yeah.
Frame. Yeah, Nintendo has stake in Fatal Frame. So if they want an exclusive Fatal Frame from Koei Tecmo, they can. Now
Yeah.
the last one that came out that went on PlayStation, Nintendo was fine with it because they make money from that. But the thing about it is Nintendo can't publish it. Koei Tecmo has to publish it.
Yeah, that's true. It's a tricky pickle there. What were you gonna say, Josh, though? We interrupted you.
No, I just was going back a little bit. I think we're to a point with F Zero where more people think Captain Falcon from Smash Brothers and not
Me.
an actual F Zero game. Because I mean, I looked it up. 2004 was the last F Zero game that's released. So we're closing in on 20 years since the last F Zero game. So there are probably plenty of people who just think Captain Falcon's a Smash character and not
Yeah.
And and
from anything
and
else.
And the thing about F Zero, if they play the Super Nintendo version or any version, F Zero is hard as ever. It is hard. No kid would be able to play F Zero. You need to be a car enthusiast and you need to know how to control. You have to dedicate a lot of time or even a year to learn of all of F Zero in order to play that game because that game is literally hard. Of course, you have to tone it down nowadays, but it's a hard game.
Yeah, I at this point you almost like I'm kind of with Josh here. It's like you should take the IP of Captain Falcon and make that into like a different game all on its own. Maybe an action platformer, maybe like a Bayonetta type of game or something like that. And like like I think one of the cool things, and I'm not even a Tears of the Kingdom fan, like, but one of the cool things they're doing with Zelda is revolutionizing the way like modern day players see that franchise. And that's a cool thing. It's like it's God of War 2018 did it. Like sometimes like a IP needs a fresh up and needs a glow up, so to speak. And you can do something different with an IP, even though that's not traditionally what was done in the past. I'm like, maybe Captain Falcon's prime for that sort of thing.
And Nintendo always tries to do something new with their IP and everything. I think sometimes it does wait. They do wait on the technology because Metroid Dread, the reason why it came out the way that it did, it literally had to wait for the right time. And even the director said we had ideas and the stuff that we wanted to put into it and execute. We couldn't do it because of the technology. And now look like Mercury Steam, a company um that got hated because of that Castlevania game on PlayStation 3. How did
Yeah.
how a company get not I won't say hated. They got dogged on because of that Castlevania game, and then they made Samus Return and that as a remake, and they were just and that got people recognizing and talking about them, and because that game was somewhat a hit game on 3DS, that just showed Nintendo be like, oh, we're going to continue to work with you guys and everything, and we got Metroid Dread. And they let Mercury Steam do what they want to do, incorporated their ideas, looked at Mercury Metroid Dread from the 2000s, and bam, we got the game that they wanted to bring years in the past, but just couldn't because of the technology.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So, but for me, jumping Tears of the Kingdom, like you guys could just watch Nintendo Pop like how I feel about that game. Like I'm on I could go to the fourth area, but right now I'm just doing a lot of exploring. Like I said, a lot of laughing, um, and just like finding more shrines. Like I haven't even did the gloom, and I haven't even did the sky stuff. A lot of the sky stuff. Like there's so much in this game, so much unexpectancy that I cannot wait to get more into it.
Now, Ed,
So that's what's
when you say laughing, you mean you committing war crimes against the Koroks?
no. I'm talking about laughing that I'm witnessing stuff like Hestu doing the song and dance every time he gets a Korok seed. Like that is funny. Just running along and an enemy pops out. Like Sebastian, I don't know if you've seen it, but you can get chased by some of the trees in the
Yeah, I
game.
do. Where they pop out of the
So
earth and start walking towards you.
yeah, and I'm just like, wait a minute, when did this start happening? I was playing like a couple of days ago when I first noticed in them. I screamed and just like, what is going on? But then I realized that I could shoot them with a fire arrow and then they catch on fire dancing. And I was just like, even finding enemies is a scientific game. Like, and I just started laughing and everything. It's been so much funniness in it and everything. I wish I could get to the Yiga clan and stuff, but um, man, just running into like enemies and stuff, and just having that kind of fun and seeing some of the characters and what they say and everything. It's been such a fun ride with
I
it.
mean,
But yeah,
Ed
just
laughing at some wholesome reasons in this game, while the rest of us out here launching Koroks into the stratosphere.
those are those. I mean, that's funny because everybody's doing it and everything, and it's a good thing. But I think
I hate those
I'm laughing
Koroks.
at. You know what? I love them. You know, I think it's a good challenge and everything. If you want to take upon that challenge and everything, other than that, it's going to Hitino Village and just listen to the music and um being defeated so many times, but still going back and trying different things and be like, okay, if I can't beat it, I'll go get stronger, then come and whoop on them. Those three-headed dragons are nothing to play with. I you talking about booking it? I've been booking it in Tears of the Kingdom. Like I've been running almost everywhere and stuff. So, but right now I'm doing the newspaper reporting. So those are like kind of like additional side quests that give you good rewards like money and food or recipes and stuff like that. It's been really fun. Just finding out different things at different stables and stuff. So like the game is deep. Like I said, I haven't even touched the sky or really touched the gloom part and stuff.
You know
But
what?
it's very
I'm
exciting.
thoroughly happy that y'all are enjoying this game. I really am.
Well, thank you. So, but everybody, it's time for Point It Out, where we kind of we take our topics from the trending section of Twitter or other social media and have a discussion. But we're gonna do that next week. Next time we record because I have two topics for these guys and I cannot wait to discuss it. And this is the first topic. AEW Fight Forever release date announcement. Now, this is what I I I I got. I seen the tweet and I hit up Josh and said, "Hey, should we talk about this on Jump Off Point?" Sebastian, here's your response.
My
How
response?
dare thou? You can't talk about AEW Fight Forever without the Prince of Pro Wrestling Games, aka the Champ, aka me. And then you put the Rock gift with the come on. So
I believe.
I invited I invited you and said you better come on Wednesday then for a jump off point, good sir. You know you always invited.
Oh man, thank you so much for always having me. But I believe, I believe some of the nuance of that comment was kind of left out there. Like Josh, did you interpret it like he spelled it out just now?
No, I interpreted it much differently than
What?
how
Yeah.
Ed Ed. How
What?
dare they? You can't talk about AEW Fight Forever without the Prince of Pro Wrestling Games. He's quoting The Rock. He's
Mm-hmm.
like when Chris Jericho debuts,
But
and
that's what Sebastian said to me.
Yeah, yeah. What we're saying is you gotta say it with some flair, like with some fire,
You know what?
with that hot fire. You gotta smell what we're cooking here. It's
You
like it's like you're smelling what we're cooking, but you're not smell what we're cooking. You know what I mean?
I took it. I read it as something completely different. It's just how dare that? I'm like, how dare that? I'm like, hold on, wait, you know what? You better come on this podcast then and talk about it because I'm just like, how do you start a sentence with "how dare die"? I'm like, what? Wait, hold on. And I just asked Josh. I'm like, should we talk about this because I know you guys are wrestling fans. I don't know the person who's actually doing the announcement or anything because I don't watch AEW. I'm at work at a lot of times that is all and stuff.
Mhm.
So I was just like, here's the trailer, Josh. What are your thoughts about it? Sebastian, what are your thoughts about it? If you guys want to talk about it, you can. The game is releasing June 29th. What are your thoughts about this trailer or, it coming out?
Josh, you can
you,
take it off first.
this is a good thing in my opinion because as longtime wrestling fan, Sebastian, you'll agree here. Competition always breeds your best product. It's what created the Attitude Era back in the '90s and the 2000s was having that rivalry with WCW, and now you can argue AEW is not quite on that level of WWE, but having competing video games will force them to go, especially where WWE had a very rough go at its video game back a couple of years ago, because forcing them to take a whole year off with how WWE 2K20 came out. They come back with 2K22. People say it's in the right direction. 23's kind of enhanced that. Now having AEW starting to put out games, especially games by THQ, who did a lot of those original top games on the N64.
Yeah.
So you've got
Nukes. Mm-hmm.
you've got like a good basis for competition that I think it doesn't allow anybody to become complacent, and us as fans, we're just going to benefit by having that competition because now they're going to try and one up each other, because while ratings wise WWE might be ahead of AEW in the video game realm, I see them a lot more closer, and that could force the better competition and not allow, say, WWE to put out a lackluster game because people will just hop over to AEW's game. So I like that we're having both companies putting out games. It's the right call, especially given how much drama's gone on behind this with the right stuff. I need to look up exactly what that was, but they originally had the debut for February and they had to push it back until they could get some clearance. And then CM Punk's whole drama with the company has been a lot of issue as well. So it's nice to see that finally get over a lot of that and be out, because there's a lot of fun wrestlers who you can control in this game.
Yeah, that was extremely well said, Josh, and I agree with everything you said 100%. But before we continue, I do want to acknowledge, I don't know if you caught that, Josh, but did you see the way that this man busted open a cold one, like a cold Steve Weiser when we were talking just now? He busted open that can like he was Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's smooth, yeah. Oh, it's a Dr. Pepper this time.
That's the strawberry one.
Strawberries,
The strawberry
is it cherries as well?
No, it's a strawberry and cream.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
I think they took the cherry one out because they
Oh, what?
discontinued. Yeah, they discontinued it at our store.
I
Oh,
see it
okay.
every now and then at my store here, which
Mhm.
I just go and buy them. Which Ed and I are on I'm in Utah. Ed's in Chicago, so we're completely different sides of the country. But I get, I have to buy the zero because diabetes runs in my family, so I gotta,
Yeah,
keep an eye on some things. So I drink the zeros. But yeah, they have the strawberry cream for zero. It's pretty good. I bought cherry, honestly, a month ago, so maybe it's dropped off since then. But
Mhm.
they do have it. But no, Ed, you about to get scrutinized for every little thing you do that's going to remind us of wrestling.
yeah,
Just you
for
wait,
sure,
Ed.
for sure, for sure. That's kind of why I wanted to bring it up, and I think like a good tale of the tape of like the soda thing is going to be what like the movie dispensers, like the automatic ones where you go press the button and such like that. If it's there, if it's gone in one of those, like it's gone forever at that point. But like
Mm-hmm.
because they got every flavor, it feels like. But going back to AEW Fight Forever, well said, Josh. Like I agree with you 100%. I think it was GCW, the independent like gaming, not independent gaming, but independent wrestling promotion that wanted to like promote like protest the game being called Fight Forever because they said like their fans also say Fight Forever, which is a common nomenclature of just pro wrestling in general right now. Like
Mm-hmm.
Nakamura and Sami Zayn had a match at NXT Takeover some years ago, and they were saying "fight forever" while they were fighting. So I mean, while they were doing their match, so it's just a common thing that's being said across all wrestling platforms. It was a stupid lawsuit, and thank God it was over. Then, like you said, the CM Punk controversy with the way he basically handled the situation with the Elite and the backstage brawl there, kind of like yeah, that kind of delayed things even further. And then they had like a ratings kind of debacle where like the
Mm-hmm.
game was being rated M in some territories, and they were pushing hard for that T rating. So yeah, it's been a long time coming, and yeah, thankfully this isn't like quote unquote development hell like we see with some games where like the
Mhm.
development process is the reason why it's delayed. But like yeah, it's a long time coming. I'm excited. We're getting a lot of wrestlers here. I did notice that sadly it feels like a lot of wrestlers who I would have liked to see in this game are like missing from the roster here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why, because like a lot of these people are like people who've been a part of AEW since almost day one, if not like year one. So I'm curious to see why we are missing some of those additions. But there are people in this game that I think aren't even in AEW anymore at this point. So I'm like, it is it is crazy to me. But yeah, I'm excited. This game kind of feels like No Mercy did back for like back in the Nintendo 64 era. So, like if you're a lapsed wrestling gamer, I feel like this will get you back in.
And one of the things too, I think, in terms of its release, I think if there is a positive that comes out of all this delay, it's that it separated itself by a couple months from WWE 2K23. Because if it
Yeah.
came out in February, it would have been February AEW, WWE March, and they would have just swallowed up each other. But WWE got its time. I think the anticipation on that game's cooled, and now AEW can come in here in July. Um, and really shine on its own. It gives it its space. And when you're a new company that's only been around for 4 years at this point, you need that. You need that space to really shine. It's why they don't have a show that goes up against Raw, or I guess they do have one up against SmackDown, but I mean they're trying to create their space for them so that they can compete there. I mean, so I just think that giving that space is a really good it was a blessing in disguise to have it come out in July rather than having it try to compete with 2K23, because if you're going to lose, I don't know. The AEW fans are very passionate about it, but if you're trying to attract in, both fans, WWE's got the name recognition that's going to win over the majority of the time. But this way, you've got both that can really live on their own.
Oh yeah, but
You know,
wrestling gamers and wrestling fans are passionate. I'm talking about
Oh my
passionate.
goodness.
If something stinks, we talk about it. Like if Vince or Tony Khan makes a bad decision booking wise, we rant about that thing for days. Like we are like fire breathing dragons when it comes. You think gamers are bad? Like wrestling fans are really bad. Like we haven't forgiven Vince McMahon, and this has almost been what, like 5 years for breaking the Undertaker streak. Like we are still upset about that at this point, like that, especially to Brock
Oh,
Lesnar at this
we're
point.
going on 10 years on that because that was WrestleMania 30, and we just had
Yeah,
39.
yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
true. That's true.
we're going on. I mean, it's what built Brock Lesnar to what he is today, and we still hate it. Like it's
Oh yeah,
just
it's sour. It still feels sour in our mouths. But like you were saying though, like if this game came out and it's also like has any negatives, we're gonna highlight those negatives and we're gonna compare and contrast those with WWE 2K. And we're also like, if this game stinks, by the way, which hopefully it won't, like we are for sure going to talk about the deficits that it
I,
has compared to WWE.
I
mhm.
think it'll probably give like eights for right
Ooh, I think
now.
you're being generous. Like I
I
like
mean, to because the reason why I say it'll probably get an eight because it is a new IP of a wrestling game that is coming out, even though it is kind of licensed and stuff. Um, and so I think at least with eight, because don't forget you still have Street Fighter 6 coming out. So you got those kind of fighting players. You got wrestling with AEW. Soon you'll have Tekken 8 and stuff, and everybody will be in their own lane in wrestling. And if all of them are done very well, done good. It definitely it is summertime, so a lot of people are going to be doing a lot of stuff, do their backlog, probably watching the Summer Game Fest and all of that, and the conferences and stuff. I think a eight from a lot of places would give people to be like, you know what, I'm going to go buy this game. Because I'm like, it's getting a good average score, and I'm not talking about Metacritic, but I'm just like, if it's getting a lot of eights and 8.5s and maybe a nine somewhere here and there, a lot of people gonna go out and pick it up. And if there is talk about that game, that people recommend playing this, then yeah, people are going to buy it, because then that also puts more pressure on 2K for the WWE games, because now they can't go under an 8. If they come up with a new game and it's a 6, oh, that's it. It's going to be a wrap. And just like you guys says, as wrestling fans and as wrestling gamers, you will let them know, because all the comparison from AEW will come out, and that's going to jump the sales. So I think if they just even achieve an 8 for a review from different places, that's good
here.
for them for a new IP.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money, and I think that's an optimistic perspective of what this game is going to project out to be, and I think that's a really good thing. But I feel like here's some hurdles that it's got to overcome that like wrestling fans are going to grade, and wrestling people who are probably going to actually like critique this game, especially with like the way the industry works, where like usually like people who are fans of wrestling games review wrestling games, but like
Mm-hmm.
the modes I think are what's going to detract some points there, where like this has a career mode but there's no my GM mode. Like there's no like they're only the modes are lacking because we only have like the exhibition mode, a career mode, and the creator superstar mode. That's it. That's the only modes we have in this game compared to what we've experienced over the decades long path of not just like WWE games with the WWE 2K series, but even like like Here Comes the Pain and like those games that that like sort of predecessors for the like WWE 2K games. Like those had modes in it. They had a My GM mode. They had like a factions mode. They had different things that would also add longevity in gameplay. Right now, we just got an exhibition mode and a career mode, and I feel like even on the exhibition side, did y'all look at like the match types that we're supposed to have?
Yeah, there's a pretty long list of them. That at least if I'm remembering them right.
Yeah, so you said you've watched AEW for a while, but you kind of got a little lapse on it. Can you give me the match types that you remember like watching on television?
This is largely, I don't watch it as much, largely because I don't have a cable subscription, so I'm kind of just
Yeah.
reading about it. But I mean, there's what Texas Tornado
Yeah.
tag match.
Mhm.
Although I remember this one. This was a jab at Vince McMahon. The blood and guts match with the barbed wire, the barbed wire in the ring.
Yeah.
They have their standard, like your ladder matches and your I'm totally blanking on what other, but those two, the tornado, was it the tornado death match and the blood and guts, those are the ones that I remember. I think they do the first blood matches still because WWE won't do that because they're not trying to draw blood anymore.
Here's the thing, though. Like you're listing some that they have in real life in AEW right now.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the ones they have in the video game. All the match types: single, tag team, not tag team tornado, just tag team, 3-way, which is a 3-way 6-man tag match, or no, wait, that's not even a 3-way 6-man tag because it only says like it'll only let you do tag matches up to 2 tag teams right now, like so you can control the 2 players. So it's a 3-way match, which is a triple threat match, a 4-way, which is a fatal 4-way match, a ladder match, a casino royale match, a falls count anywhere match, an unsanctioned lights out match, which is basically a hardcore match where you can use weapons, and then an exploding barbed wire death match. Blood and guts isn't even in this game, man.
That was a huge thing. I remember because Vince McMahon was all on how we don't mutilate ourselves anymore, and so Tony Khan's like, "Well, we do. Here's a blood and guts match."
Here are some of the matches we've gotten on television that aren't in this game, and like the Stadium Stampede match, which is a staple of AEW. Like one of the biggest rivalry matches we've gotten in AEW history is a Stadium Stampede match. Not in this game. Blood and guts not in this game. Deletion match. The deletion has become a staple of AEW. Not in this match. Also, 3-way tag team matches. They have a trios championship. How do you not have 3-way tag team matches in this game, man?
Especially when you got the Bucks
my Royal Rumble equivalent. I want my Royal Rumble equivalent.
That's the Casino Battle Royale, but like the Casino Battle Royale. So you at least have that in this, but you only get to have, I think they said 4 people in the ring at one time. So it's not like a battle royal, like a Royal Rumble feeling, like where the ring is full. Like on WWE side of things, right now you can have like 6 to 8 people in the ring at one time during a Rumble match. When one of those people is eliminated, another person comes in. This is 4. Yeah. This is 4. This is lacking, and that's why I said I don't think y'all had the context of why I said like an 8 might be a little generous. I think this is going to be a fun time. I'm excited for this game, but I'm also looking at it to where like looking at everything that's lacking into this mode, like everything that's lacking in this game. I feel like if they get an 8, I feel like this game, gameplay wise, superseded everything that it possibly could. And for a first time at bat, I find that hard to believe,
Right. Yeah, and I mean at this point I think it's about getting a decent enough grade that you can justify continuing on so you can improve on whatever you have. Mm-hmm. Right, because if you get a low enough grade on that, then they're not going to greenlight that because you pull in a 3, 4, even a 5. I think that it starts to question: do we keep doing these video games? You guys really kind of screwed up on this last one because they don't have the benefit that WWE does, where they have a long-standing run of games even prior to the 2K games. 2K20 was a stinker, and they just took a year off and came back with a better game. AEW doesn't have that benefit because if this one doesn't do good, they're going to have a harder time getting another game greenlit. So, I think you've got to get, I don't know if somewhere between a 6 and a 7. Above that would obviously be really good, but enough that you can get it so you can go forward and you can add to it more. Because I think, in my opinion, why it's lacking a lot in this game is probably because they're like, let's see where this goes. If this does well, then we can expand it out further. And they've got to show. So, that's where I think if they can make what they have work well, then I think it's going to be good because, I think this is really a good chance for AEW to really make a good name for itself, especially in the video game world.
Where's the Iron Man match? Like Iron Man, like Kenny Omega, like revitalized the Iron Man matches, especially with AEW. Like look at the match he had with Daniel Bryan, where it ended in a draw. But like they had a well deserved like 5-star match, and then Hangman Adam Page, his match with Daniel Bryan, also an Iron Man match, fantastic. Well, two of the best matches in AEW's history were Iron Man matches. By
And
the way,
MJF just had one too that is
yeah,
helping establish him further. Because I mean, he gets that knock of being just this the talker and all that stuff. But put him in that Iron Man match, it did what it did for The Rock back in 2000, where it really just established him further as more than just the guy who can tear it down on the microphone. So to not have that in the game is really, especially where WWE is not doing Iron Man matches like they used to. So it's like this is the chance to different. So it's a bummer to not see it, especially where who was MJF's against? I'm totally spacing on
MJF was against Daniel Bryan because that
was
the whole
Bryan, just the Iron Man.
He's the Iron Man. Like yes. Like he's killing it. All three like 5-star Iron Man matches in AEW's history was Daniel Bryan participated in all of them. Did he lose all of them? Yeah, sure, he lost all of them, but like he participated in every single one of them.
That man puts over so many people in those matches, and he doesn't lose any shine off of them either, which is just great.
He does, and I mean, like a steel cage matches have been in wrestling match games since the 90s. There's not a steel cage match here. There's no steel cage match in this game whatsoever. That's been a staple since Jimmy Snuka flew off the steel cage back in the 1980s.
I wonder if it's budget stuff, some budget and developer time.
How do you make a ladder match but not a steel cage match at this point, though? You know,
you need to have something to throw Darby Allin off, and you can't keep throwing him off of ladders.
Thank you. I'm like, Darby Allin's there to be darted, just darted, or for you to just
again. Budget, time, developers.
You know, I get that, but I mean, also, are reviewers gonna get that though? I mean, like you get what I'm saying? Like, that's when you said 8. I'm like, oh man, I don't think he knows about like all the stuff that feels missing in this. Also, when this game was announced back in the day, we were supposed to get 50 plus wrestlers. Right now, we got 41. I don't know where these Magic 9 are gonna come from, by the way. And like
DLC.
That it's like we wasn't supposed to get DLC with this game. I'm like, it was supposed to be just a straight up game, like originally, and then like to add more like fuel to the fire there, it's like we got 41 wrestlers, and then like if you look at the roster of people like currently, at least 10 to 20% of these current wrestlers that are in this game aren't even with the company anymore. Cody Rhodes works for WWE. He just appeared at the main event of WrestleMania. He's in this game. Like,
it may be. I wonder if it's a contract thing too.
It's probably
that man. Yeah, that man pulling the Rick Rude, but in video games.
Mm-hmm.
Where I just noticed that, and I just noticed no Tony Storm in here.
A staple. Like no, here's a crazy thing. FTR. Where's Dax and Hardwood? I mean, they've been there since the beginning, and right now they're your tag team champions of the world.
Well, and that's honestly, you could argue they're the most over tag team in wrestling right now. I mean, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are great, but FTR gets the reactions wherever they go. So it's like if you were to create a WWE game and leave out like the Usos or KO and Sammy, it's like, I mean, yeah, that's nuts.
And think about it like this. Like, I think the most over tag team in the world right now are like the Acclaimed AEW tag team, where you haven't watched the product in a little bit, but like the scissors and everything like that, like, and like they are over. Like, people are chanting with them. Their music comes on. Like, the one member of the Acclaim like does a rap. Everyone's like hyped about his rap as he raps out to the ring. Like, he is over in a way I haven't seen anyone a tag team be over since like the Dudley Boys and the New Age Outlaws. And
right,
wow, the boys, wow.
Yeah, I had to take you back there with them Dudleys, but yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like the hurdles here that a lot of people are expecting to be in a game of this magnitude, even because, like, fair or not, this is going to get compared to the other product. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it might not be fair, but this is going. No one's going to say like, oh, this is their first game. Give these guys a break. We don't do that in wrestling.
Well, and I mean, too, times have changed since the Monday Night Wars. WWE is the standard. It is what
yeah.
everything is compared to. Back in the '90s, WCW had a leg up that they could say, "No, we're peers in this." In this day and age, WWE is the standard, and so I think when you compare, this game will get compared to it, especially with how many former WWE people are in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's good. I mean, you got Daniel Bryan, you got Moxley, you've got
Cody Rhodes, obviously.
Cody Rhodes, Ruby Soho. Like, I mean, you've
Mhm.
got a lot of different people who used to be in WWE that it's hard not to, and that's the task that this game and hopefully future ones have to do, is how do you differentiate yourself from the WWE games? Yes, it's all pro wrestling, but AAW, its television product, has done a pretty good job at starting to really move away. I mean, they're more wrestling focused, whereas WWE really leans heavily into the entertainment on top of the wrestling. I mean, they you're watching the you're watching the same thing, but it's like presented so much different. When I say same thing, you're watching professional wrestling in
Mm-hmm.
both products, but you're getting, you know, you get the Roman Reigns storyline in WWE, whereas, you know, what Daniel Bryan does. Daniel Bryan doesn't have to say much, and everybody's behind him because of how good of a wrestler he is. Roman Reigns comes out and he's telling stories with his facial expressions and everything. So I don't know. I think that, you know, this is a good chance for this game to really differentiate itself from the mothership, if you will, and really just put out on its own. So I mean, there's going to be a lot of pressure on this game, and um, I'm interested to see where that goes.
Well, we will see in a month. But we're going to move on to the final topic of the night. Everybody, we have had the PlayStation Showcase on May 24th. It's going to be out a little bit later, everybody. And we have seen it. There are games that have been announced. Um, there are remakes that are coming. Um, the other stuff that's been announced is Marvel Spider-Man 2, Konami's Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3 launching on PS5 and the Master Collection. Fair Game from Haven Studio, that's Jade Raymond's studio. Um, Helldivers 2, Concord, Marathon, that's Bungie's kind of debut game back from the day. They're bringing that back. They had Sony's portable PS5 streaming handheld, which is going to be launching later this year. They also are having some AirPods with lossless audio and low latency. Alan Wake 2 coming out on October 17th. Assassin's Creed Mirage, they'll show some gameplay from it, and it's coming in October. Fatal Blade Zero, uh, the Talos Principle 2, um, Never. There's from the creators of Gree, so Nomada Studios. I'm very excited for that. Sword of the Sea, from the people who made Journey and The Pathless and Abzu. Their new game. A free anime open world Tower of Fantasy is coming out on PS5 and PS4. Ultros is another game. Night in the Woods creators reveal Revenant Hill. Well, Revenant Hill is the name of the game for Cat Quest, Pirates of the Caribbean. Funny name.
I love that
Dragons.
name.
Exactly. Dragon's Dogma 2, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, um, And this was the game that Platinum Games was working with Side Games, but then Side Games took over, working on it. Final Fantasy 16 trailer, The Plucky Squirrel, Resident Evil 4 VR, Beat Saber is coming to PSVR 2. It's available right now, so it's a free upgrade for PSVR 2 players, and they play Queen on it, so you can download that pack. Teardown, uh, Synopsis is coming out on July 4th for PSVR 2. And then Foam Stars is Square's Enix answer to Splatoon on PS5. So those were all kind of just a little rundown of everything. Um, I'm going to start with you, Sebastian. What are your thoughts about the PlayStation Showcase?
As controversial as a lot of people as controversial as this is, I think this is a B level showcase. I don't think this is an A showcase because I do think this is lacking in the first party portfolio. But as
Mhm.
as a gamer who enjoys indie games, who knows the lineage of PlayStation, knowing that like the intro of the PS4 era, like indies carried them into like PlayStation 4 was able to put out those big AAA polished level games that we were all craving for. Like indies were holding it down for that. And if I'm gonna be real with you, I think there were two game of the year caliber games that we were shown in this showcase. Like I think Spider-Man is one of those, and I think Sword of the Sea is another one. Because if I know, like, as a lot of people are looking at me upside my head right now, they're saying like, "How dare you say Sword of the Sea is a game of the year caliber game?" Well, I know your history, people, because like if you look at the lineage, Journey won a lot of outlets game of the year when it came out. This is from the same creator who
Mhm.
did that. This looks like it has some of that Journey juice to it, that same kind of Journey mojo to it, that a lot of that
Yes.
no one in the industry has managed to kind of tap into lately. Like indies are like Journey was the first game that put indies on a map in a way to where like they felt like they could be game of the year contenders as well. So whether you like Journey or not, it's like you can't argue with the awards that it won. But like
Yes.
I look at the showcase overall, and I think Spider-Man 2 was magnificent. This is the way you show that game. This feels like a 2023 high level polished AAA game. This feels like the promised one, the chosen one. I don't necessarily think this is going to win Game of the Year in a year that Zelda came out. Like it's going against 20 years of nostalgia. It has no chance.
Actually, some people think that the game's going to get delayed. That when they said like fall 2023, people were just like, "Oh, big concerns."
So yeah, I think those concerns are valid, but I also knowing the history of PlayStation, kind of like what I do. Like if we look at what happened with the God of War showcase, at around this time, like they should did
Mm,
a whole showcase of God of War Ragnarok, didn't drop a release date, and then like 4 weeks later dropped a release date with a nice commercial and a blog post. The same thing's probably going to happen with Spider Man. They and that's like they've had a couple exclusives, but they're third party exclusives this year. Sony's not like PlayStation's not going a whole year without a exclusive to their name. They're not going to do it. It's not who
I
they
think a
are.
lot. I think a lot of people feel like because it's been a long time since that game's been announced and revealed, and even though this is like the first kind of gameplay trailer, they should have had a set date. Um, but this fall 2023, they really feel like well that could mean anything.
It could, but
And
that's sort of like a good thing in today's nomenclature because like you
mm,
release a date this early in the year and say you got to push it back for 2 or 3 weeks, just not even for polish reasons, maybe just for a shipping reason because those things happen in our industry as well.
mm,
Like you like a lot of delays happen for a lot of different reasons, and it's not necessarily. I didn't see anything in that gameplay that led me believe like, oh, that needed some time. Like, oh, this needs some polish. This looks like a
it,
complete game, and I think it's ready. I think they're just doing a couple last minute polishing things there.
Well,
yeah, I think it was just because that they seen it that it should have been dated. It should have got some kind of date or something. I think people would have been fine if it did have to get delayed and it got pushed back, but I think they feel like it should have been dated. That's what some people feel like. So, go
And
ahead,
that's
John.
understandable. That's understandable.
Right.
Joshua, what do you think?
I was going to say, I think that this game, um, if if they weren't confident in its release, they this year, I don't think they'd release the free comic book that they did a couple of weeks ago with it, because that was, I mean, with everything how it's lined up, they pull the original Spider-Man off of PS Plus earlier this month, clearly in anticipation for this game coming out. They released the free comic book. What was that? A couple weeks ago on Free Comic Book Day. That's supposed
And
to
they
kind
got
of
a movie coming out this year.
right.
There's
So
no way they're delaying this.
I just think, obviously crazier things have happened, but I think that they're fairly confident in this, and I think that keeping that one in a year where games have come out delayed. I mean, Tears of the Kingdom was delayed into where it's at now. We learned why recently, but Star
Starfield.
Wars. Starfield, but Star Wars comes out real buggy. I think they're very conscious of that. So I think at this point, keeping it a fall 2023 is your way to under promise and over deliver. Because if you can keep it fall, if it's set ready to go, you can launch it in September. But if you think, hey, it needs a little bit, we still haven't put a release date on this, end of October is still an option, and that's still fall of 2023. So I just think, this kind of gives themselves some cover, and I mean that's a different discussion for another day on releasing games before they're ready. But I think they've got to be skittish about how many games have come out and how critical people have been. Scarlet and Violet's been one that got a lot of Star Wars came out that's got a lot of buggy hate on it, and I just think they want it to not be that way. So they're saying, okay, if something comes up and we've got to delay it back, like you said, Sebastion, a couple of weeks, we don't want to have to sit here and look like, oh, we're no different than all these other games that have gotten delayed.
Hey,
Delayed.
Josh, were you born in Texas, man? Because we vibing like we kin folk, man. We vibing like we cousins or something right now. I like
so here's the story about me. I'm born in Southern California, complete opposite of Texas. I was a missionary for my church in Texas for 2 years.
Okay.
West Texas, so Lubbock, Amarillo, Odessa area, all the parts of Texas nobody knows about.
Yeah, you off in the desert. You with the Wile E. Coyotes and such like that in Texas, but like it's all good. You still drank the sweet tea. You ate the barbecue and everything. You soaked in some of that Texas flair, baby, because I could tell the way you talking that sweet gospel right now. What are you about to say?
I spent 4 years out in Phoenix as well, so I'm all over the desert. Back in Utah, but yeah, no, it's been 10 years since I've been in Texas, but I love it out there.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say that I think if it did get delayed out of 2023, it's just what I'm saying. Just use that for example, because that's some people think it'll get pushed back to next year. Even if that happened, I don't think Sony could afford it to miss out on this holiday, because even though that's a big anticipated game for Sony just themselves, I don't know what else they have coming out this year for PlayStation 5 from a first party stance.
Well, to be honest, like I'd be very shocked if Last of Us Factions wasn't announced at the Game Awards, not Game Awards, but Summer Game Fest in a couple of weeks, because like we also saw Last of Us Factions. That's when like the announcement debuted. Was with Jeff Keighley as well, so. I think they didn't announce that because like they want to keep that tradition and let like save some of those announcements for Summer Game Fest. And I think Last of Us Factions might be coming out this year as well.
Yeah, because if Sony doesn't release a game, I kind of was thinking about this, like, man, if Sony doesn't release a game this winter, this fall, whatever, Nintendo and Microsoft is going to steal this holiday. Microsoft is going to really try to go hard because they're the ones that really need it. Because definitely with Starfield, and I don't know when Forza Horizon is releasing. But I'm just like, man, if they pull out some of the games that definitely Hellblade 2, if they release that this year, Microsoft could end up taking this fall and this winter. Now Nintendo could fall back because they have released a lot, and we don't really know what they're going to do after Pikmin 4 in August. So from September until December, we don't know what Nintendo has planned or anything like DLC, or I mean DLC might be Mario Kart, but we don't know NSO or any other first party games after Pikmin. You know, Metroid Prime 4 is the big one, but they may be saving that for a Gamescom in Germany
You know,
to reveal.
yeah, an interesting thing though. I'm like, worst case scenario. Let's say like everyone's like horror story comes to light, and PlayStation ends up delaying Spider-Man into 2024. They can take the reason why PlayStation can afford to take a year off is because you're king at this point, and also like the Switch sales have been slowing down year over year. GameSpot reported May 19th or May 9th that Switch sales are slowing down, according to confirmed for this fiscal year by 22%. Everyone who's probably wants to play a Switch has a Switch already, you know, like, and considering there's no new console on the horizon, Nintendo's like most of their sales for this holiday season are probably going to come on the software side, not on the hardware side of things. And then like on Xbox, you got to put out a good game to entice new people to buy your console. Can you, like, the last game of the year contender you had was Forza, and Forza is a racing game. There's only so much it can do. So a lot's riding on Starfield right now. If Starfield comes out and it's a 7 or 8 out of 10, that's a failure for Xbox. They need a console seller. They need a big blockbuster 10 out of 10 game of the year kind of contender at that. And at this point, that might not be enough for them to like sell Xbox units, because Xbox units have slowed down tremendously as well. So I don't like this holiday season is not as big of a deal as like previous holiday seasons. Like I think 2022 and 2021 were really big holiday seasons. We're in the middle of a console generation right now, you know, like, and the PS5 is still the hottest console on the street right now.
That is a question that I want to, and that might be a question we may do on Expansion Pass. Are we really in the middle of a console generation, or is that console generation just started? Because people feel like from the time that those two systems launched until now, it was hard getting systems. Not many games came out for those systems, first party wise. I'm just speaking, and a lot of the power for those systems still are not being recognized. And so I feel like if all of those factor in until this console generation between those two systems, when is it going to start? And will it be too late?
You're right. That could be a like a podcast conversation all in its own. But like I would say like a 7-year cycle. A 7-year cycle is normal for a console, but the Steam Deck now exists. Like we're getting things on the PC, handheld PC side of things that's going to accelerate this console generation. So I do think we're closer to the halfway point than a lot of people think in the industry as well. What were you gonna say, Josh?
Oh, you're muted, Josh. Yes.
I was going to say that the pandemic really screwed up a lot of this stuff, because PlayStation 5 launches at like in the middle of 2020 when things are we just barely came
at the
end of 20.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but I mean, we were still 2020 COVID was still a hot thing. Like things were shut down, things were delayed. You go all the way to now, and I think sales have just barely, stock's been able to keep up with demand finally. And so, you know, I agree. I think we're in the middle of the console generation, but also the pandemic's kind of skewed what that is, because we're still making these cross-platform games where they can't use the full extent of the PS5 because they're having to make games for the PS4 still as well. So I think, and in terms of if Spider-Man gets delayed out, I think Sony's got enough. They're third party, yes, but enough exclusives to hopefully carry it into the early part of 2024. Because you got Final Fantasy 16 coming out. That's going to be a 6-month exclusive on the PS5. And likely Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth is going to be another exclusive that you can only get there for probably 6 months as well. that
You
I
got
just think.
exciting games galore,
Hmm.
galore on that console. So yeah, it's
But that's
like
also
place.
on
Yeah, but
And
I
that's
what?
also
mean,
on
yeah,
Xbox.
but we're talking like if we're talking about like how big of a year this is for PlayStation overall, even outside the exclusive game, like they
Mm.
are having a banger year. Like if you're looking at all the library of games that are coming out for PS5, like you don't necessarily need a big blockbuster exclusive. It's nice to have one, but you don't need one.
Well, and I
Yeah, I
think catching
definitely.
up on your stock is a really good way to go because I mean, how long were you hampered by? Oh, you want a PlayStation 5? I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait 6 months to get one. Now, I think the games help out a lot because a lot of people will say there's not much of a reason to have a PS5 right now, just because a lot of these games do come out on PS4. But we're starting to see that now where the PS5
Well,
is becoming it because Final Fantasy 16, what that's
I
able
think
to accomplish can't do it. Sorry, Ed,
I
go ahead.
think no, I think with the PS5 sales that people buying it, yes, I do agree that it's going up. I think a lot of people are trying to go back for the backlog stuff, instead of the now stuff. Because games like Returnal, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, um Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Ghost of Tsushima, like The Last of Us PS5 version. Like a lot of that stuff that they missed when the system came out, I think a lot of people are going back to get those games and play and stuff because even though Final Fantasy 16 is a great game that people are looking forward for, definitely with Street Fighter 6 and stuff, you know, Street Fighter 6, Mortal Kombat, and Tekken 8 on PS5. Those are probably going to be big games for Evil because Sony owns Evil. So it those games on those systems, people are going to get ready to play because it's Sony. They're going to be like, yeah, you only can play them on PlayStation 5 for our tournament and stuff. You know, they can't. Sony really can't go anywhere else or anything to play some of the games. If it comes on PlayStation 5 for a fighter, they're gonna go for it and stuff. And then you got PlayStation Plus Essentials and stuff that people are gonna hop on and play some of those games. And if that's the only way that you can play Final Fantasy 7 and everything, um, they're gonna go ahead and do that. Well, Alan Wake 2 is coming off so for Xbox also.
Yeah, yeah, it's still going to be one of those that is like, yeah, a lot of people are going to be playing a lot of these third party games like
Mm-hmm.
throughout the fall. Like, like just like Starfield is going to be Xbox is probably like exclusive for the fall. That and I would bet Forza Motorsport is also coming out this fall as well. It's like,
It's supposed to be summer, but and that was I think that the same way that people worried about Spider Man was the same thing people worried about Starfield and Forza, because just like, why are you still giving us these months and years and
yeah,
everything? And I think it's because, and I think the reason some people might say, well, Nintendo does the same thing. Why they get
the
like people don't
Nintendo
complain
Pass.
about them, right? And I'll say this, definitely with the breath with Tears of the Kingdom, Anuma came out and explained, not truly explained, but said we had to delay the game. The producer of the game made a video and let everybody know that they had to delay the game. Every time these other companies do the same thing, we get a press release on Twitter.
You
We
know,
don't get a video. Oh,
I think
go
it's a
ahead.
lose lose situation. A delay is still negative press, and versus
Mhm.
like if you say a month or just give a fall window, you don't have to have that negative press at all.
Oh,
Like
and oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
no,
because
no, no.
I
That was the whole
haven't
point I
ended.
was making.
Oh,
Go ahead.
and when Anuma made his announcement for the delay, he teased us with new footage to show you progress on the game and stuff. So I think of certain people follow that route. Like if they came in saying, "Hey, we know we promised this, but we had to apologize. We gotta apologize because this," it gets some new footage and stuff. It'd be like, we're excited to let you guys know when we'll be able to see it. I think people will be fine with that. I think Nintendo and this mostly just been the Zelda series. I think Anuma now coming out and saying something about it, that shows not just kind of good leadership, I think that gives more assurance to people that LA, he was man enough to come in saying that we had to break our promise and delay this game. He gave us a little bit of something with some video and then disappear so they could work on the game. He didn't come out and do a press release
It adds
or
a
something.
human element to it. It adds, it
Yes.
feels more transparent and too. And I get what you're saying. It's just like the negative aspect of that. And Zelda didn't have to face that because it hit his date. But imagine if you came out as you as a person came out and said like, "Hey, like I know y'all are really anticipating this game. Like if I'm Sebastian, CEO of PlayStation,
Yeah.
hey everyone, I know y'all are really anticipating Spider-Man 2. It's unfortunate that we're gonna have to delay this game. Here's some new footage of this game, and here's a new release date." And then like let's say 2 months go by, and then we have to come back and say like, "Oh guys, by the way, sorry I lied before. Here's our new date." You know what I'm talking about? You look real
Mhm.
bad in that situation. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, or just, or at least said when we'll have a new release date and more information for you in the future, but we have to delay the game. I think, like you said, having that human element. If you added that, I think people will be like, okay, it's going to be delayed, but there's other games coming on. My anticipation of this game is still there, or may even grow stronger, and I cannot wait to release it.
I'm curious about something, y'all. Like, what besides Spider-Man 2, what did y'all think about the showcase overall?
Josh, I'm gonna let you go, and then I'll say my thoughts after. Mine's just up and down kind of thing, in a sense.
So I haven't watched the whole thing. I've read about what's in there, and I've seen a few trailers of what's in there. Man, these times are really killer for me because I have 9 to 5 job. So this
Yeah,
aired in the middle of the day, so I haven't had a chance to sit down. And when I come home, I've got 2 children that they need a lot. So, but I did really like, and it's just because I'm geeking out over Final Fantasy 16. I like the trailer. I like that we got to see a lot more of the story
Mhm.
that's going around. Because I mean, we've heard this is going to be a darker story. And it's going to be a lot more violent than what previous Final Fantasy, but this one really gave you a glimpse into kind of the dark fantasy setting and how this game is going to story wise play out a little bit more. So I thought that was a pretty good one. The other one too that I think I'm really anticipating, and this is just comes back from my not playing a lot of PlayStation was, but the Metal Gear Solid stuff looked really intriguing to me. The original 3 games remastered pack, as well as the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. That looked really something that's really now on my radar because I've never played any of those games, and bringing
Mhm.
them to modern consoles. I'm always for bringing these older games to modern consoles. Like, um, so I'm a fan of seeing that there, and I think was that a later this year as well. I believe
no,
the
no,
the
they just
three
said
pack.
Mhm.
coming soon. Oh yeah, that I think is for sure. I think
Yeah,
that's
Yeah,
the
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 autumn, right?
collection.
the
Yeah, the
the
collections are
remake
revealed.
wasn't. Yeah, that one they just said coming soon, but the collection of the first 3 games remastered,
Hmm.
I think that they said fall
Yeah, I
23.
think they said autumn specifically, but yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, those are the ones I'm intrigued. I mean, there's a couple others I definitely would want to check out. What was it? The why am I forgetting the name? Dragon's Dogma. That looks pretty cool.
hmm
Dragon's Dogma 2, excuse me, as well as that. And you mentioned it there, Sebastian, the Sword of Sea, or
hmm
what was? Am
Hmm.
I?
Sword
Yeah,
of the
that one,
Sea. Yeah,
Sword of the Sea. Okay, yeah, that one looked pretty cool to me. I'm fairly new to indies as well, and I've been enjoying kind of diving into some of these games. So this looks like one that I think I'm gonna enjoy.
let me know what you like, and I can hook you up, man. I can give you a list.
I've got a couple sitting on my Switch, but
hmm
um, yeah, no, I've really it's a newer thing that because I mean I've always been like, oh, you got to get the AAA games and all that
Yeah,
stuff, and I'm finding that like I played recently, and Ed heard me talk about this, the Last Campfire. Oh, I love that one. That was a
Yeah. So,
lot of fun, and it was really surprisingly deep for a game. especially an indie game. It totally kind of set the standard of like, okay, so this is what an indie game can do. Like
Yeah, that
that's
makes sense.
not like, because I played Hollow Knight as well, and um, is Shantae considered indie? Way
I would,
forward.
No.
I wouldn't consider that technically an indie game, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I played a few here and there.
Yeah, there's some. They're really coming up in the world. You know that. Yeah, that's a solid list. Ed, what did you think about this?
So it was a okay show.
Okay.
And I'm not hating on it or anything. I thought the Starship Trooper looking game was campy as ever. Helldivers 2, everybody. I thought that was campy as ever as a two thing. So that's very interesting. Um, Metal Gear Solid 3 remake was weird, but now that I'm thinking about it, okay, they couldn't remake one because I think Nintendo holds the pattern for that remake because of Twin Snakes on GameCube. Nintendo paid for that development, um, and I think
I
it's
think I
exclusive.
think from my understanding, I think Konami still owns the rights though, and that's why they're
Konami
doing the
owns,
collection, right?
yeah, Konami owns the rights. But I think the exclusive, like a remake thing, still belongs to Nintendo.
So
Because
from
they
my
paid for it.
understanding, I'm like from people I talk to in the industry, it's like the reason why they're doing 3 first, like Snake Eater first, is because like
Mm,
it narratively is structured is the first, like it's a prequel to everything. So like if when you're
yeah,
rebooting a story, like you can reboot it from the ground up like this.
yeah. I think people were expecting one to be redone because it was a PlayStation 1 game. And I think that's what everybody logic was. But I'm just like, well, it's already been remade because Nintendo did it. So 3, since that was only exclusive to PS2, um, that one can get the remake treatment and everything. And I think people like 3 because it was a it was not only a new story kind of to tell, um, but I think the gameplay ideas and stuff were different and everything.
Hmm.
So I could understand that. It was just weird that they went with 3 and stuff. It was a cool trailer though. Don't get me wrong. Spider Man 2 didn't do nothing for me, and the only reason why, is because it's. I'm sorry, Insomniac and Sony. I know the chase sequence that y'all like to do with trailers, it's just fine. It's the I know this is not the way that this game is going to be and everything because I know this thing is going to drag out longer than what it is. Sometimes the QTEs that's in these games don't really match up until the like, oh, that looks good, and then you try to do them in the actual game, and sometimes the it doesn't
It's
react
not
real
1v1,
fast,
yeah.
like yeah, it's just like you press it and then you just see Spider Man fall into the sea and die as a game over. Just be like, but I didn't think that you told me to do this. So I'm taking it with a grain of salt. I know it's gonna sell because it's a Spider Man by Insomniac. Insomniac is a great developer and everything. So I mean, it is just what it is. But it really didn't do nothing for me, and I love Never. Never was good. I'm looking
Hmm.
forward to that. I'm like, oh, y'all really was watching Spirits of the Way, and no, not Spirits of the Way. Sorry, y'all was really watching Pokemon, uh, Mononoke, Princess Mononoke. You guys really was watching that and stuff.
I like
To
that.
make the sure.
It's a classic.
Yeah. So, but I am. That's a game that I'm definitely gonna get. I hope it doesn't. I wanted to be a Switch also to release on Switch also. Only reason because I own agree on Switch first, and I want to get that, and then I'll get it on PS5 later on. I don't know. Um, Everything else just looked it bland and uninteresting. Just be like, I think I did this already before, and everything. And I once again, it just didn't have that much variety. Now,
Oh man, me and you are on a different wavelength because
it's
like
just
I think
I,
this had like so much variety.
I don't think it variety in the sense that it didn't feel like any different PlayStation showcase. I think it always follows the same kind of look and feel to it. So I think it hasn't changed anything up about it. And I know I'm probably gonna get some worse about this. I think February's Nintendo Direct really set a hard bar for presentation and having a variety. Only reason why I'm
Oh,
saying that, hold on. Only reason why I'm saying that is because of the way people reacted to it, the games that people were talking about. There were more interactions definitely on social media about the Nintendo Direct. I literally tried to look at different people. I follow a lot of PlayStation people. I tried to really follow people during the showcase for reactions, and I didn't see barely anything. I just felt like people not being let down, but you would think that, oh, this is cool. I'm hyped. You would thought that a lot of people would be hyped about a lot of stuff from that showcase, and it wasn't. If it wasn't Spider Man or Metal Gear Solid, nobody was talking about anything else. Yep,
yeah.
you know,
I do think I think a lot. I think that goes to expectations to where like you talked about Nintendo showcase earlier this year. A lot of that showcase a lot of that showcase was about first party stuff. Don't get me wrong, like there was some third party inclusion there, but
it
if
was
we're
started indie.
yeah, I mean, but think about it like this: like, what were more people excited about in that showcase? Because I like Metroid Prime came out as one of the big things. Pikmin came out as one of the big things, and then Zelda Tears of the Kingdom came out as one of those big things.
The
All
NS
of those,
outside the NSO, the level 5 stuff, like that, because level 5 stopped publishing games in the West. We stopped getting level 5 games for a long time, and level 5 do make games for PlayStation. So
Mhm.
so it was a lot of people were just shocked that level 5 would come out and bring games back from the West, even though Nintendo's going to publish them. But people were just like, there were indie games. I think there was just the variety of games that came out. People were reacting and being anticipated and saying, "This is a game I'm going to buy. This is a game I'm going to get." And I just didn't feel that same way with the showcase. I'm not saying that it was a bad showcase, but I'm just like, everybody was hyped to see what they were going to bring. And I think it's because everybody placed their expectation that Bloodborne 2 was going to be revealed. Final Fantasy 16 demo was going to come. Metal Gear Solid remake was going to come for the first game, but not the third and stuff. People thought Mortal Kombat 1 would be there. I think
no,
there was a
I don't think
big
they thought Mortal
expectation.
Kombat 1 was going to be there because that's been announced for the show, like the Summer Game Fest.
Since
So
of
I
Game Fest, yeah.
Yeah. So I
But
did,
I think
but I do think you're right. I think like this was going to be like a lot of people thought this was going to be like how Marvel announces like the MCU phase
mhm,
2 and phase 3. I think a lot of people thought this was going to be the big phase of first party announcements, and we didn't get that first party announcements.
right. And I
I do
and
think. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, oh no, I was just gonna say, and I think Marathon is a good thing that Bungie is doing, but you're putting out a game that a lot of PlayStation 5 owners don't, and a lot of gamers of today do not know. People don't know the history of Marathon, and to really understand that game, you had to be a PC player. Before that, because Marathon wasn't on console. That was even before Bungie got with Microsoft to do Halo. People don't know that history. So the reaction to Marathon, dead flat.
Yeah, I don't. I think that's an IP problem too, but it's also like a
Mm-hmm.
presentation problem because like you got to present the game to make people care about it, and I don't think they did that here. Like also, like I see like a lot of the games as a service type of games that PlayStation looks like they're leaning towards here, and I know
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of the industry, myself included, hates games as a service games, and like half of that service, like Project Haven's game, a lot of like the game that looks like Splatoon, looks like multiplayer and games as a service games. That's not what most people play PlayStation for. Like most people do not play PlayStation for multiplayer games. They do not play it for games as a service games. PlayStation to me and for a lot of gamers is the
Mm-hmm.
cream of the crop with single player narrative games. What were you gonna say there,
And
also?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I just was going to say, I think when we look at this one compared to the other showcases we've had, or I guess they weren't, were they called showcases when we had the Justice League,
Mer-
or excuse me, the
That was a
Suicide
that was a state of play. But yeah, you're
State
right.
of Play?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
But I mean, in terms of the presentation, I think this was a safe one. It didn't break any ground, this
Mhm.
showcase, because I mean, you had your Suicide Squad State of Play that's now delayed into next year,
Thank the
so that
Lord.
one's kind of become. And then you had your Final Fantasy 16 one that's what, a month now until
Mhm.
that game
mhm.
comes out. So I think this was something that's safe. It could be something that's building toward um, with E3 gone, and you guys have been talking about Summer Showcase. You know, they could be building some more of these titles to that, because I mean, we still, there were some people who were, at least the ones I was seeing, were wanting Marvel's Wolverine, some kind of snippet on that. You know, some other games there, and I think those might come at a later date in the summer. But I think this was maybe a let's play it safe, because the last two state of plays haven't. A lot of people have said that's it, and this one seems to have been, like you both have been saying, okay, not great, but not awful. So I think it's a safe bet for them to to
It-
to really showcase some of their heavy hitters. And I mean,
mhm.
you throw Spider Man in there, that's going to be a good one that's going to draw the attention, and then you can fill it out with some of these other ones that aren't. You know, they gave us our vegetables, and they gave us dessert as well.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
in a, I think a lot of people wanted narration or some kind of breakdown on what they are seeing and what they're going to should be expecting in the future. Because I think when that was one of the problems, everybody was just like, "Yeah, it looks good, but I don't know what the game is about. I don't know why I'm doing this stuff." And if you're showing me something, because the first time, or not first time, the moment you show someone do some one-on-one fighting, guess what? Oh, it's another Dark Souls game, or it's another one of this that's already been done. Oh, it's a multiplayer game. Oh, it's live service and stuff. And so people start thinking about that, and they were just like, we have seen this and got received this too many times from the PlayStation showcases. I think that's why a lot of the past ones, I would say, the one that I think is still the best that PlayStation has done for PS5 was to reveal a PS5 in those games and stuff. People were understanding what they were getting when they got the system and the games that were coming for it. I think after that, everything just literally felt the same, and people were just like, "I don't, I've done this before. It looks good when you're showcasing it, but I don't know what this game is going to be about." It's another Space Marine game. It's another CGI trailer, and people are kind of over. Some of the gamers are kind of over that. So maybe that's why I probably wasn't seeing good reactions or no reactions at all, because people were just like even PS2 PSVR2. People just like, oh, another shooting game with PSVR2, another this, another that, and it just a lot of people just felt like. Mm. So
Can we
yeah,
be
I can see
honest
it.
though? I mean, I think it's more so about what the showcase was missing more so than it was about like anything else. Like, because to be
Mhm.
honest, if like there's rumors that Uncharted game is being made, like there's also rumors that we're getting an Uncharted game, like Blue Point's doing something. Bloodborne has been a franchise people have been salivating for. Like, where's Ghost of Tsushima 2? Where Ghost of Tsushima 2, that's something that people are salivating for. What is now like what is the God of War team working on? Like, can we get an update there? I think it's more of like we are at a point to where like there's so many different studios that we
Mhm.
need a confirmation on what's coming next down the pipeline for them, like because like a lot of those studios already dropped their quote unquote bombs for this generation, and now we're waiting to see what else they bring to the table for the back half of the generation. And I think
And
like I think that's where
oh,
people are like, oh man, I wish we got a little more meat on the bones there.
right, and I know Santa Monica is working on a new IP.
Yeah.
At this time, I know God of War. They're holding. We want to see God of War for the next 3 years, because of the last one, Ragnarok, coming out last year.
Hmm.
I think it's Naughty Dog is still focusing on The Last of Us, I don't think they announced anything new. Like, I don't think they announced a new
Last of Us
IP.
Factions is rumored to be working on right now.
Okay, but but not a new IP or anything, or like a
No,
next game. That's the okay. So we don't know about that. Um, yeah, yes, Insomniac is doing Spider-Man 2, and I think who's the Ghost of Tsushima?
Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch. I know they're focusing on that game, but that's not going to get so that game probably won't get revealed to, I would say, maybe closer to the end of 24 and everything, because I know Sucker Punch takes their time with their games
Sucker
and
Punch does
everything.
so good
So
work. They do really good work.
yeah, and I think they're still building that world, like the story, the landscapes, doing all the artwork and stuff. So I think they're taking that time. Um, I think the American developers from Sony are so busy with certain projects and stuff that I wish they kind of focus on their smaller or Japanese teams. And I think if they would have did that, I think the showcase would have been a little bit better, and there would have been less worry about first party stuff and
Yeah, I
everything.
mean, like I think people buy consoles and buy consoles mostly for the first party portfolio. Like
Mm-hmm.
it would have been interesting to see what Team Asobi's working on, whether it be another like whether it be another we just talked about that franchise, the little Astrobot. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it would have been interesting to see what they're working on. Like we just
And
got something with Guerrilla Games with Horizon, so like throw them out the window. But like, what is Housemark working on? They just put out Returnal like a little while ago. Like, like update on what
oh,
they're working on would have been cool. Like,
House of Mark is going to be quiet for a while because they just did that PS5, not PS5, that PC port. So
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, but they also had help like with that port. But then like you
Yeah.
also look at Molecule, the team that did Little Big Planet. Little Big Planet's been out for a while. Like what's that team working on now? You have
So, what was that game maker game that they made? That they just stopped doing. Um,
Dreams.
Dreams. Yeah, they just stopped working on Dreams and doing updates. So I think they're probably working on a new game. I would say this. Sorry, Spider-Man 2. I think you should have saved for. I think that should have been saved for.
A
This
state
would
of play
be
on its
the
own long.
a state of play on this own or the Summer Games Fest. I literally would have been like, let's see what y'all doing with SOCOM. You talking about tier list of games for Nintendo, Sebastian?
What?
SOCOM.
Boy, get out of here. SOCOM versus
No,
Spider-Man.
no. I'm talking about you talking about a tier list of games.
Uh-huh.
So to see what Sony could do with, because SOCOM was big on PS2 and PS3. SOCOM was high level of a name that Sony literally respected. So it's kind of weird to see that name dropped off. I think if SOCOM would have ended the show, I think there would have been a
No.
lot of talk. I swear, I think SOCOM would have had a lot of talk. I'm not saying that Spider-Man wouldn't have the talk or wouldn't got the love that it gave, but I think if Spider-Man had a bigger breakdown and a bigger focus, more people would have been talking about it. SOCOM would have got people talking to be like, wait, what? Y'all bringing this back? And then the discussion about that show would have been different.
I think you can go through a litany of PlayStation first party studios that first party like IP that probably would have got
Mm-hmm.
a bigger response than SOCOM. I
Oh,
think
heck yeah.
you could have got went Infamous would have got a bigger response than SOCOM. You could have went like Sly Cooper would have probably been a like let's
Oh,
go moment.
Sly Cooper would have just got some love and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, if you're going for shock
And I
value,
think And I think that's what this presentation needed. It needed the SOCOM. It needed the Sly Cooper, the infamous. I think it needed that because it's just like you talking about franchises being forgotten on the Nintendo platform. Think of all the franchises that's been forgotten on the Sony platform. And if they could have got those out and it could have been quirky, it could have been cool and got people talking, I think this PlayStation Showcase would have had a higher not, I won't say a higher grade or anything, but
Mhm.
there has been more reactions, more interactions and discussions. I would have been talking about Sly Cooper with y'all. I would have been talking about SoCon. It'd be like, can y'all believe they brought this? Bam, let's talk about it. I asked and we're gonna be wrapping up the show, everybody, soon. I asked Carpool Gaming. I asked their PlayStation Drive. I asked them, what if they did Lair for PSVR 2? And it was like, Lair? First of all, people don't remember Lair for PS3.
Mm-mm.
And how, Josh, go read the reviews for Lair. And you will be like, oh wow. The Order 1886. If that came with a sequel,
No, don't nobody want to order 1886
but
sequel.
but for real, you think about it. Of the Order 1886, because people do want a sequel to that. They want this. They want the story to be finished in a sense, and they think that it's time that that game get maybe goes to a different developer and everything. Maybe a Insomniac take it or someone who Gorilla could take it, but I'm like or 1886. I think you needed someone who knows third party, not third party. I'm sorry, over third person, over the shoulder action and everything. I think you should. I think they need to find a different developer to do it because Ready at
I'll
Dawn,
be
I think, did the first one.
I'll be real with you. It's one Uncharted game, whether it be a Lost Legacy style game or just like an overall like Nathan Drake's like daughter Cassie like
Mm-hmm.
style game would have done it for a lot of people. Just that
Oh
game
yeah, that
alone.
would.
Yeah,
That
I
would.
think that
I
game
think.
alone would have carried this whole showcase in that next tier that you're talking about.
Yeah, but I think like the Order 1886, I think that would have got people talking about it. I think people more interested in that game would have came back for it because I'm just like, man, oh, you're on mute.
Just gonna say, I don't know, man. Like Order 1886, I don't even think the developers are interested in making that game anymore.
Well, the Ready at Dawn is doing Ready at Dawn is somewhere else. I think somebody else owns them now.
Yeah, uh,
Uh,
I was about
and
to
I'm just
say it's
like,
like I don't know
yeah,
about that one.
I think some wackiness, but yet remembrance for games for PlayStation would have been fine. We're gonna wrap it up, everybody. Final thoughts, Josh. Final thoughts, Sebastion, and then I'll give my final thoughts. Final thoughts, Josh.
This showcase did add a lot more games to my ever growing list of PlayStation titles to try out. But no, I mean, like I said, I think it was a safe. It was safe. I mean, take that for better or for worse, but I mean, it was a safe thing that, for me at least, being the newer PlayStation owner, it's kind of cool to see a wider scope of different things because I don't know much. I know what the big games are. I've explored through the PS Plus a little bit, but it's kind of seeing more there. It helps me kind of develop that because I can go in and out of what Nintendo games and what games appear on there like the back of my hand. This one, these showcases really helped me out. So I mean, it was good for me as a newer player.
Yeah.
Sebastion, final
Well
thoughts.
said, Josh. I I think the big takeaway is like PlayStation's leaning heavily on the indies and like Spider-Man until like the big games get ready and get that oomph behind them to where like
Mm-hmm.
they're ready to just drop bomb after bomb on us to where they're like, hey everyone, this is a showcase where we got Ghost of Tsushima, Uncharted, Last of Us Factions, Last of Us Part 3. We got, like we got whatever Sony Band is working on where they can just go boom, 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 boom. And like I think a lot of people wanted this showcase to be that, and it's unfortunately it's not. But like for indie lovers out there, plenty of games for y'all to try. Like everyone go give indies a shot. They're well deserving, and a lot of the times punch well above their weight, especially on these big juicy consoles where they're not held back
Yes.
by like a lot of like old hardware. So yeah, solid about that. Spider-Man looks like my type of game. I haven't been impressed with Tears of the Kingdoms. And, that's just me, who I am as a gamer. Spider-Man is my type of
Just
game.
kidding.
Like, yeah, like that's just me. That's who I am as a gamer. Like, Tears of the Kingdom, take it or leave it. I leave it. Like, I've been playing it just for completionist sake. Like, but other than that, like, Spider-Man looks like everything I want out of a video game and more. High fidelity, high frame rate, like gorgeous visuals, good story. Bada bing, bada boom. It looks like a big AAA blockbuster game that I want to play from 2023. So yeah, Spider-Man.
And I gotta say, and like I said, I give props to Insomniac. They're one of my favorite developers of all time. I do love Insomniac. So I don't want to get that wrong, everybody. I do love Insomniac. I just wish I would have did a Resistance collection because I want to play that series again.
Don't make them do that. Put Bluepoint or some other studio on that. They doing some good work. They're doing a large work right now, giving us Spider-Man and X-Men and Wolverine. And you want them to go back to Resistance? Please, man.
I said a collection.
No.
Resistance is good. Just saying.
And Resistance is solid. I agree with you. Just let's get some bootleg team off the street to help out on doing Resistance. You know?
Bootleg team. And I do love Bluepoint too. A shout out to them.
Mm-hmm.
They do phenomenal work too.
Yeah, shout out to Bluepoint. They're great.
For me, it was an okay show. I wish there was more wackiness. There was some narration for some of the games. A lot of it cool presentations, I will say. The PSVR stuff didn't do nothing for me. Spider-Man didn't do nothing for me. I know it's going to be a great game. Like I said, Never looks really good. I just think that they could have had more variety, in my opinion, for it. And so, not a bad show. I'm definitely going to be rewatching it, so I could, check it out. Like I've been rewatching some of the Nintendo Directs. I've actually went back and watched the developers direct for Microsoft and stuff. Like I do go back and watch these shows just to see at that time how we felt to when these games actually come out, to be like, oh, okay, I see their improvement, I see the changes, I understand what they're going for. I think they just could have added some more, and definitely more first party.
Yeah,
you're selling high PS5 systems, and people want to play these third party games. I mean, not third party, sorry. They want to play these first party games from Sony, and they don't want to be let down and everything. So it was a okay show. Could have been better, could have been more diverse. But with that, everybody, that is going to be it for Jump Off Point, our first 2-hour episode. We
breaking new ground here.
We had good discussions, talked about different video games, some good old wrestling talk. So if you love your wrestling, Sebastion and Josh got you on lock with that. But everybody, I want to thank you, Josh. I want to thank you, Sebastion, for joining us. Have a great week. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time on Jump Off Point. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
This episode long like Lord of the Rings.
The extended edition.
Right. Actually, I was thinking about that. I know we're about to go. I was actually thinking about the Lord of the Rings, and we were talking about a Zelda show, a Zelda movie. For that, and I think Lord of the Rings sets a good example for medieval stuff. Right, everybody. We'll talk to you later. See you next time on Jump Off Point. Bye.